As we jump into game number 6 over here on Frisian Marshes, we'll have PuppyPaw in the color blue playing as the Abbasid dynasty, potentially his favorite civilization, against the favorite civilization of VortiX over here, with the Mongols in red. Best civilization possibly for both players. What are we expecting over here in game number 6?
So this is where it gets a little bit wild, because I've worked tirelessly. As you know, I do Lidakor. You know, it's just ED, energy drink to get me through the night. Who needs sleep? That's pathetic. Mister knows what I'm talking about. Plan to actually skip out and sleep just so you can play a series, thanks to PuppyPaw and VortiX taking their time. But I've watched a lot of Frisian. I've looked for every custom game I can find, and these two civs don't come up much. Mongols is mainly a Lidakor move from the high-level players, and Abbasids is... I feel like I have to scrape the bottom of the barrel. No offense to him, but I have to go down to like Fitzbro level, which of course isn't like a top 16 competitor. Sorry, Fitz. I'm sorry, Fitz, but he'll nod his head. He'll accept that. You have to find an Abbasid fanboy to actually get it picked here, and it seems fitting that we have an Abbasid spammer from the David Kim account ready to whip it out on this custom map.
And as you said, this is not a civilization that you commonly see, and that includes a massive mystery factor over here. VortiX is going into a game where he does really not know what to expect from his opponent PuppyPaw over here, simply because, as you said, Abbasid civilization on this map is so unexplored.
It is, and you know the crazy thing is like the Mongols kind of have a more clear-cut plan. Me like outpost, me spam. You have exposed resources, me take them away. And in the meantime, usually the cool thing about the Mongols on this map, and I love that Lidakor was starting to experiment with this, is like you can get away with going more aggressive because you don't need pastures. There's so many sheep.
Exactly. And the thing is that you can even move out for a sheep. If you're, or the shorefish rather, if you are the aggressor, you can move to the shorefish, and keep in mind, you make a gur once, you can carry it over to different ponds as well. So it's very resource efficient too. But the thing that impresses me with how efficient Mongols can be on this map is the amount of towers you need to corner an opponent. By the way, it looks like the colors are flipped up, so
Yes.
we'll have to ask Core out here
we were
to flip the colors.
We were testing that everyone was correct on this one. It's just like what happened here, folks. We knew that Core was already colorblind to green. Turns out he might be colorblind to red and blue as well. He's been very good at guessing it so far. Shout out to him. Shout out to our observer for the good work he's been putting in. And it looks like he's gonna have a long haul here. We started with a show match. We're now into game number 6. And
we still have the Abbasid player as blue. We need the Mongol player as blue.
Oops.
Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Now we're in. And we're in just in time with the correct colors for the confusion to pass. Don't get tilted by the fact that the names are on the opposite sides where you'd like them to be. Let's focus on the fact that there's an outpost rush coming, and an Abbasid player might be uncomfortable with this detail.
Oh man. And this is where the Mongol tower rush gets very interesting, because the players are spawning in corners. You need way less towers than usual to surround the enemy base completely and just suffocate them within their base. And now you have to ask a question, how many sheep does PuppyPaw have? He does have a reasonable amount, but it is a sufficient amount of sheep for some time, but it is a finite amount of resources. And VortiX, he wants to keep you in your base for the next 25 minutes if possible.
Yeah, the more I see Abbasids in these type of games, the more I understand the logic behind fresh foodstuffs, Lidakor. What happens in the siege? You have to ration, there's not enough food to go around. They're just having to make do, because this is so fitting. How often do we watch Abbasid players stuck in their own base going, please, tell me there's enough food for each of us?
Yeah, for now it's going to be sufficient, and look at VortiX, he's like, okay, there's a random sheep, I can just yoink that, because I want to make sure you have as little resources inside your base to work with as possible. But there's a bigger concern here for PuppyPaw. Access to gold is also a bit of a problem, so is access to the berries, and normally berries is not a factor on this map, but how about Abbasids?
I want to vomit right now. 2 outposts can block out both golds, the stone, and the berries. What? The crazy part is, like, would I say that this is, like, fair spawns? Sort of. Like, you might need 1 additional outpost to block out a Mongol, but, like, he didn't even think about it. PuppyPaw was like, no, I'm just going to play the chill state. I'm not going to try anything cheesy or cheeky. He just wanted to quick attack up. He will get into the archers, and it looks like he will, as a result, be able to stop any additional outposts going up. But it's still an uncomfortable start to the game for him.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable start for sure, but we have seen instances of Abbasids responding very effectively with tower rushes. In fact, if you recall a Lipany game before where we did see an Abbasid tower rush, it was very reminiscent of this one. You go for an archer range, you drop one archer, you start building a ramp very early, clean up the towers, and then you can double down on military production and still have a battering ram alive that you can use to pressure the opponent's base. The difference here is that in that game the OVO was exploded, whereas here that OVO is in a safe spot.
All right, I was going to check on that one because I was like, hold on a sec, Lidakor. You're talking about the Outpost Rush game where there was 2 Abbasid players because we did see that as well between Marine Lord and Puppy.
No. There was a Mongol Abbasid tower rush game.
Yeah, there was. I warned that it's going to start happening. It's going to get a little bit disgusting as well. Like, the fact... I'm still going to use it as my metric. If the Abbasids can do it, clearly it's OP.
I can't recall who the participants of that game was, but we definitely saw that yesterday.
I think they'd prefer we don't like recall who it was because then
That's not how it works.
He lost to an Abbasid with Outposts.
I'm gonna name and shame. I mean, I have to name the person that does an Abbasid tower rush.
Are you like the declarer in the tower? Like, hear ye, hear ye. Go ahead.
It was Mista. It was Mista against Lucifron. He was the one who first cleaned up a Mongol tower rush with Abbasids, and then went on to tower rush the Mongols himself using the Abbasids.
I didn't want to do him dirty like that, but you know, you bully the players. I think they bully enough of each other as it is with all these outposts. But at the end of the day, PuppyPaw able to get that quick response. One of the beautiful things about being the Abbasids is, you know, you might be a terrible civ that always loses all the time. At least you get your rams for free.
I love how you just called it towerable civ, as if you couldn't tower any civilization.
Like, that's the point, though. If any civ could tower, like that's when you know towers are strong, when literally any civ... You know how, like, oh, yeah, the asymmetrical balance, like, there's different things that are strong for civs, and then everyone over here is like, hello, have you seen our towers? Yeah, we got them.
Yeah, but that means, like, you know, you just made a word, towerable, but the opposite is just completely irrelevant. The thing, like, untowerable civilization simply doesn't exist.
That's true. No, when the towers come a-running, like, they are going to be gunning. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're from. All right, they're going to find you. They're going to end your game. I think that's something we've learned quickly. And it's actually very fun to watch players continue to learn to how they need to adjust it. Because what I think is cool about outposts... Okay, I can't believe I'm going to say something cool about them. What's cool about the concept of, like, outpost rushes is you have to calibrate similarly to the way that, like, sacred sites worked for a while, where people would panic, they'd overreact, and they'd try to instantly deal with it, and they'd lose too much. It's the same here. Notice that PuppyPaw didn't react instantly to this one outpost, because it didn't block him off all his options. He still had different options available to him, which is why he desperately wants this stone, and he's got to fight tooth and nail here. Archer's getting traded out. Villagers trying to commit to the build-up here, but it's not going to be quick. Might cost him a few troops and villagers in the process.
Yeah, a couple of villagers got picked off over there, but ultimately, PuppyPaw gets away with this, and he needs to get away with it. He's at 240 stone right now. He can't be forced away from that stone in this very moment, because then all the time that he spent mining stone is gonna be in vain. He is going to have sufficient stone to drop a second town center, though, heading towards the ponds on the north. And behind this, looks like VortiX is just thinking about the cost ledge, but VortiX sees this. VortiX sees the villagers moving out and he's waiting for the right opportunity.
Archers outnumber him, though. Archers outnumber him. Spear's going to back out, interestingly enough, instead of engaging here. They might need to throw themselves away just to buy time for the TC build-up. That's exactly what they're going to do. Remember that VortiX is not playing near an outpost. He doesn't have the movement speed buffer right now.
Yeah, and he has used the con boost already, so he can't go for the attack speed arrow either. Oh, this is going to be dicey. This is going to be more than dicey.
I think he's fine. Like, the PuppyPaw will complete it. He'll lose 1 or 2 villagers, but, like, look, he has to recommit now. There is a few troops left tickling away at him, and villagers are not dying fast enough here for him to stop it.
Yeah, just in time, really. Couple more seconds, and this could have been a disaster out here. Town center goes up, and the thing is that losing those villagers doesn't really matter that much here, because PuppyPaw has a second town center, so he's down 3, but he's going to make up for that in basically a minute.
But what about the economical cost to him, Lidakor? Those villages are so expensive.
We're looking at an Abbasid game, right?
That's right. Like, I say expensive, really. No. If you're not aware, folks, the Abbasids, they abuse their villagers. They're malnourished. They're barely fed enough to get through childhood and into adults. And when they get there, they are probably so thin that they should be able to just naturally dodge the archer bolts by just turning sideways. Only 25 feet each.
So think about this for just a second. 5 villagers on Shorefish, gathering for 5 seconds is enough to make 1 villager with the Abbasids. That's the price we are talking about over here.
Just think about this. 1 sheep lets you, they could afford 10 villagers. You can buy 10 people, grow them through their childhood into adult status, and get them working. Yeah. Now the Abbasids sound broken. Okay, admittedly, we're being very selective with what we're highlighting. If we gave the whole picture, they don't exactly live in that.
PuppyPaw is going to spot the castle age here though from VortiX, and VortiX slowly adding men-at-arms, and we have seen this over and over again before with the Mongols, that they beat you to castle age and they can start trickling in men-at-arms to your eco. So even if you have the numerical advantage in the economy department, it's gonna be insufficient because you will constantly have 10-15 idols because they have to be garrisoned to avoid getting slain by the men-at-arms.
But PuppyPaw has read his history books, Lidakor. He knows how the Mongols work. Their greatest weakness of all, wolves.
Yeah, I also read history books, you know, the Great Wall of Abbasids, everyone heard about that.
It was definitely made of wood, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not that great then. It's like the decent Wall of Abbasids. How about that?
The reasonable wall. Yeah, because reasonable is a longer word, so it sounds more sophisticated.
Yeah, I can go with that. The famous reasonable wall of the Abbasid Empire also costing 1 villager life over there, courtesy of that 1 Khan. The Khan is going to get inside.
A very long title for a wall. Oh, wall finally going up though. Khan did make his way in, but now has no way back home. He is now a snitch that might get stitches and is reporting from behind enemy lines.
VortiX is probably the single player that loves Khan micro the most. Ever since the release of the game, he has been microing the heck out of his Khan, as I'm jinxing him only to lose the Khan, but credits to him,
yeah,
he tried microing
micro.
it, okay? He tried microing it, and he tried to use it as an individual unit to kill villagers. It didn't work out, but the intent was there.
I am actually a bit disappointed, Lidakor, because that was like that. The sheep with him as well, man. That was the beginning of like a Tom Hanks stuck in an island type story. Like we could have had a beautiful movie there, but no, it wasn't to be. Now my only question is, what happens to that sheep?
Well, at one point he's going to join the famous and well-renowned Abbasid dynasty. I mean, not as a member of the dynasty, but rather as a source of food. I just want to clarify that, so no one misunderstands anything.
For the greater good of the Empire?
Something along those lines, that's for sure. Second TC now on the way for VortiX. He also has a prayer tent, and PuppyPaw is playing confined into his base, which opens up a lot of opportunities for VortiX in terms of relics and in terms of just adding the second TC himself.
Was this the first time we've seen someone wall all the way out to the ponds?
I think it's the first time, because it's just too pricey, right? And if you are on the offense, you don't need it. If you're on the defense, you don't have the map control to do it.
Whoops. The reasonable wall of the Abbasids only protects if you stay on the right side of it, as he'll be pushed back inside. He needs to tech up. PuppyPaw is waiting for that. It's going to be a locked timer, though. But when he does get there, the Camel Archers are a solid solution to what you're facing off against. And wait, the ball... okay, yes, PuppyPaw, yes! Give him the wildlife! Wait, no, what? No. No,
not like that.
He turned the aggro on himself. It was a nice idea.
Yeah, at least the effort was there. Still, the shaman took a beating, so next time he moves out for a relic, there is a chance.
I just love how boars are kind of like that big, hulky, muscly dude in the movie that you like throw food at, and then when he turns around, you just like point your finger at someone else. You're like, yeah, he done it. Get him.
Looks like there's a slow build-up of army over here for PuppyPaw, something that we neglected for the time being. He's slowly massing camel archers here. He also has a spearman, and that combo could be pretty efficient over here, but here are the knights. 1 villager falls.
A villager falls, whoop-de-doo, just 25 food. Still has the lead for the moment, but the problem is that VortiX is now starting to make bank through this very weirdly shaped bank called a prayer tent.
Camel Archer is now coming in, though, for retaliation. Perfect timing. That is a perfect timing, getting the villagers killed on that
he's gonna get
Ovu.
more. He's building up archer ranges right now. Big
Did
mistake
he also
made
stop
there.
the Ovu? If he did, he can deny a lot of key upgrades.
No, there's passive stone coming through. So VortiX still has passive stone source. He didn't complete the new... Wait, he did. Okay, wait.
No, that's incomplete.
No, he didn't.
I think
okay,
he wanted to replace it.
Yeah. So
no,
he
it's
still
incomplete.
has the old one going, though. Yeah, it's incomplete, but he still has the old one going. So he's not missing out on passive stone, but he does want to set up this new one. You can see he just dried up.
Yep, looks like he's going to be able to secure the position, though. So Lancers coming in time. Uvu is going to be completed. You might yoink a villager here if you are good with micro.
Would you have sacrificed your camels to kill both those villagers?
Not at all. I mean, as much as it's 50 food for the Mongols, you still are playing against 2,000ers. One camel from one villager is a terrible trade.
You filthy camel lover. I can tell you have a smurf that you picked the Abbasids on.
I never called my account Camel Lover, okay? The craziest name I used for my account was Bugla Enthusiast.
Nowadays, remember, we have to call that the Bugla Enthusiast because it just doesn't work. Luckily, we can't see any Baglas here unless PuppyPaw gets very drunk and mistakes this for a different custom map. Wololo. Wow, that is an embarrassing fight to look at losing. Yeah, let's just focus elsewhere. We don't want to admit that a shaman lost to a single camel. Now that we think about, though, what is the goal at this stage? Does PuppyPaw try to defend and go to Imperial? Would that make it stronger?
I don't know. Like that's a great question to bring up, because the thing here is that with the Abbasids, you are technically fine with post-Imperial late game if you can trade, and technically it's not impossible for him to wall off his trade line. But do you want to play post-Imperial against the Mongols here? I get the feeling that the plan is clear for VortiX. Spam towers everywhere and just start building up Springald towers, Bombard towers. So because of that, I feel like PuppyPaw needs to do something here. He can't just sit back and wait for VortiX to spam the entire map with towers.
The interesting thought for me is, like, if you actually wait and you go into Imperial, what do you think you want to build as an Abbasid player? You want to build Camel Archers, Spearmen, maybe even normal Archers is affordable. And you can afford it because you'll have, like, farms, fish in the meantime, and then you've got crap tons of wood still in your base.
I can justify Camel Archers, especially because that's a unit that really gets its power late game. So that is something that you can consider here. But it also depends on how much wood you have access to. For now, it looks like he's depleting one forest, he's got two more to work with. But one of those is out here on the front line, so it is debatable how long that's going to be there.
Ooh, housing situation. PuppyPaw isn't that far ahead, so if he starts targeting out housing, VortiX doesn't only get paid, he could slow down the production rates of PuppyPaw. Spiraled. Nice move there, though. Of course, traction trebuchets, a lot less range, so have to get a little bit too close to the sun and could easily get burned by these stingers here.
And there's a slow build-up of siege here for VortiX, and we're entering the danger zone here for PuppyPaw, that multiple towers are being placed on the front line by VortiX. Bit of a long-distance gold mining hero as well, but VortiX is probably focused on building those aforementioned towers, and he's ready to start crawling with those towers, something that we've seen the Mongols being very efficient with, and something that's really difficult to deal with here, playing as the Abbasids.
Something we're not used to seeing that often, of course, but is becoming more frequent because PuppyPaw is the main picker of Abbasids, is going for relics. And it looks like you got the hard-to-reach one, has a second one in his base, so you will have some gold trickle. I like that Abbasids are starting to do this. The other reason to go imams aren't good, because even with Culture Wing, like up in Imperial, people are pop capped, so the conversion is useless. But the permanent source of gold is always welcome.
Indeed, and honestly, given the fact that he was confined into his base, even having one relic is a decent accomplishment, he's flirting with the idea of moving out of his base right now, but he's just scared. He's scared about those towers, he's gonna wait for the trebuchet to take those down. But this is where you face a different problem. VortiX could have the Springolds out on the battlefield with improved siege engineering. You can also have your own Springolds, so it's gonna come down to who is going to race for more Springolds here to snipe down the enemy trebuchets with.
And the problem you have is, like, you can more easily reach the Mongols' trebs than the other way around. Like, remember that siege weapons don't get yam anymore. You can't just go, surprise! How the hell do you move at the speed of a race car? Oh, that's right, the Mongols, they stick nitrous on their Springolds. No, that doesn't happen anymore. So it's very difficult to reach full counterweight trebuchets because they have 3 more tower range than these tractions. And also, by the way,
Slow
another
crawl
thing
forward.
is less damage, right?
Yeah,
I,
but
I always forget about the less damage. It's so pathetic.
it's a small thing, right? Like, it's not something you focus on that much because usually it's much easier for the Mongols to get to like 4 or 5 trebuchets than it is for, let's say, an Abbasid player. So it's more about the range, and that makes it much more difficult to protect those trebs. But for now, it's a trade of Springolds. Look at PuppyPaw though, something we haven't discussed yet. How much food does PuppyPaw have? Can you update me on that?
Let's see. He'd be old enough to drink it. No, most countries won't allow that. Definitely old enough to drink now, but he has 20 food a minute.
And that was 0 food per minute for a long time. He was so cornered in here that he's just running out of food inside his base. And he's just too afraid to move out towards the extra pawns, and this is a difference. VortiX can take all the pawns he wants. Whereas for PuppyPaw, he now needs to make a farm transition, and farms will cost you wood. Wood that you should be turning into Springolds, wood that VortiX will be turning into Springolds himself.
PuppyPaw, because he feels he needs to move faster, look what he's now going for. Into the greased axles, he needs to be quicker about this move out. He needs to find snipe out opportunities, because right now, VortiX is floating good resource income. PuppyPaw in an awkward state because he was relying on those fishing docks for too long and now finds himself in a situation where he needs to prep fully for the farm. The knock-on effect is the issue there, right? Like, now you need more wood for your siege, but you also need it for the farm transition.
Yeah, it looks like PuppyPaw has had enough though. He's moving out with the Spearman, trading off the Springolds for the time being. Springold numbers still relatively even, but the crossbows hitting the field over here. Lancer is also joining the fun, and PuppyPaw is getting forced back.
Bad trade on the siege coming out from PuppyPaw
Ooh,
there.
Mangonel fire.
Hold for the moment. He needs
No
to
more
commit.
Springolds
He
for
can't
Puppy.
stand it. He has to rush in. He could actually maybe just gap close to the Mangonel. There's no front line right now for VortiX, and that's what he's doing. Torches out straight in, holds on top of him and burns them down. And all of a sudden, a bad trade turns to a good one for PuppyPaw as he pushes VortiX back.
The Springolds are just not being a factor over here because there is no siege left to snipe. And the Mangonels, they were simply insufficient to deal with the Spearmen. Now those Abbasid Spearmen with the Phalanx unique upgrade trading so effectively here. This is a cleanup by PuppyPaw, at least for the time being.
It is, and he's pinched him as well, so VortiX has to stand and fight. You can see the crossbow count more or less even. The Springald emplacements will make this a good trade still for VortiX, but no army left to dive with afterwards. And credit to him, because that Phalanx you mentioned doesn't just affect their ability to melee attack, it also affects their torch range.
And that's a big factor here because you needed to gap close as soon as possible, and that extra little bit of range on your torches help immensely when it comes to that. It makes it much more viable for you to just rush up those Mangonels, throw the torches, and take way less casualties than what you would with other civilizations. PuppyPaw taking good engagement over here, but he's running out of resources dangerously fast inside his base.
He has got big reserves though. 1.5k gold already in the bank, so he can build up a new line of siege. The food and the wood is the thing that he's trying to stabilize now. You can see he's barely getting the numbers together, but when you look at the income, he's a lot more healthy now. And a defensive keep going up, a keep that he will be able to get up because remember, he wiped VortiX's siege line.
And this keep can buffer up a lot of things for him by time, and time is something that he could really benefit from. He could think about the village even.
Has that counterweight trebuchet got a sniper scope on it or something? Because that was a remarkable shot.
As you're saying that the trebuchet is gonna get picked off by the Springolds. Vultures being pulled for repair. Second volley, not killing the trebuchet. Nice little save there by Puppy.
An important save as well. PuppyPaw is playing a very budgeted game now. Gold is a limiting factor as he drained and exhausted the lust of his gold veins. Only way he's getting more is if he sneaks out into the midfield now. He doesn't have enough eco to think about doing that, but he wants to control the midfield, which is why he's now prepping the stables.
Yeah, he needs something out there, but it has to be a horseman play. It cannot be a knight's play. There are way too many crossbows out there on the battlefield. Horseman could work, and you see he's building a gate to the north. He's trying to sneak out. VortiX might actually detect this, and this Lancer could be the most valuable unit that VortiX has on the playing field right now, because he sees him.
Just get your shifts. Fight him.
It doesn't matter, because you are spotted. It's all about the information.
And he's doing it for the stone. He's not even going for gold, it's for stone. I don't know about this, Lidakor. I don't think stone is what you need right now. Even more villagers coming out. And so far this series, we've seen VortiX have these type of moments, but now is finally PuppyPaw's turn, finally reacting with the army. But that means he hasn't got anyone in place to defend against this imminent siege upon his keep.
Yeah, it's a pick your poison scenario. Are you getting your villagers massacred here, or are you gonna have your castle potentially taken down here? Knight is gonna get gotten rid of, but the question now
can he go
is...
offensive?
Technically,
actually-
Mongols can't fall, so that's an option.
That's true. That's the big issue. They've been stuck, blocked off by these walls and these defenses for so long. Keeps they also can't build, and his step redoubt is in the center. But it looks like with the keep already on fire, PuppyPaw will choose the defensive option.
He needs to. He doesn't even have the wood to repair. Look at that. 70 wood in the bank out there to get the repairs going. He's losing the keep, and remember, Abbasids only have 2 landmarks. So it's relatively easy to get rid of those. PuppyPaw sitting at the only 4 Springolds though.
Sir, run. Just pretend your house, pretend your house, pretend your house, pretend your house. Okay,
Not gonna
there
work,
it is.
that's not
They
gonna
think
work
he's
there.
out. He's out. He makes it out. Springles a trade and distracts for too long, so VortiX couldn't go for the value snipe on the Treb. Just needs to try and protect his siege. Those Spearmen, they're wiggling their way around the back.
Yeah, they're launching a counterattack, but one has to wonder whether they will be more valuable in this engagement. They might be much needed in this fight. They will do some raiding damage, but they are much needed in this engagement because the Trebs are setting up, siege workshops are getting rid of, and that blue army is getting dangerously close to the landmarks.
PuppyPaw needs more Springles, he needs them fast. He sorted his gold issue, but now he needs the time to build it up, which means he could be sacrificing a lot of his base. Flank maneuver in place if he wants to engage here. Horseman rushing in, nice trade there. 1 Mango being targeted down. Second one on the hit list. Villagers joining in as well. A good trade there. PuppyPaw finding the value. Only 1 Mangonel on the field, and now he can start to fight, but still outnumbered here. Crossbows engaging. Flank attack comes in. PuppyPaw with a wraparound, but a critical mass of crossbows will stand their ground and shrug at the irrelevant damage that PuppyPaw is trying to stick to it.
And behind this one, trebuchets are shelling buildings non-stop over here. PuppyPaw is on a timer over here, but it is crossbow v crossbow in a fight where VortiX does have the numerical advantage. Horsemen slowly disappearing from the battlefield, and this is where panic kicks in for PuppyPaw. He's pulling villagers for the repairs, and those spearmen, they are much needed in this battle, but they're nowhere to be found. Could be a difference maker here.
He might get some value in the base now because VortiX is moving back the step readout to his reserve goal. And PuppyPaw is still there with the spears, so if he can hold on, he can start to eke out an economical advantage. Only a few crossbowmen here, and now villagers being sacrificed to the phalanx spears.
But look at the base of PuppyPaw. Tell me, KP, what's the army he has to stop the trebuchets with? The starting town center is gone, the House of Wisdom is under fire.
Use the villagers! Go!
That's everything that he has!
Burn! Okay, burn in hell seems to be actually what's happening here. That's a lot of dead villagers. The crossbows are just going to massacre, and PuppyPaw now shriveling up economically. In a lot of trouble.
This is looking really grim for PuppyPaw right now. He has to decide, is he losing his landmarks or is he losing dozens of villagers? Because VortiX is showing no signs of slowing down. Still 4 trebuchets out there, and this counterattack slowly getting cleaned up will allow VortiX to turn all his attention towards that final landmark standing from PuppyPaw, with a chance to even this set out and push it into a decider game with a ticket to Heidelberg on the line.
There is no doubt in my mind that PuppyPaw still does not have textiles.
He doesn't.
Those villagers were incredibly underwhelming. And it is unfortunate for him because if he had that, maybe he kills at least 2 of these Trebs. But yeah, as you can see, it's terrible to look at. Like, no textile at this stage, even when you consider also having preservation of knowledge, it guts you. It really guts you. And now PuppyPaw in desperate need of a recovery point. You know, landmarks are exposed, but he has a lot of food and gold, but he needs the room to build up a military district to invest in.
Exactly. Right now, the resource that is lacking the most for PuppyPaw is room. He's running out of space over here, losing a lot of precious production buildings, and he's lacking wood as well. So every single building he loses is going to be difficult to replace, and it's going to be difficult to repair that landmark as well. He knows that. He's coming in for the cavalry charge.
He can't, though. He just wants to buffer him away. He's trying to buy time. Like, PuppyPaw, this is not a big enough army, and he knows that. Look at the military count.
He wants a surround.
He wants to cut off reinforcements because VortiX is building up to critical mass while sitting here.
He needs to fight right now. He can't hold this longer. He's sending all the cavalry to the enemy base. But this feels like a disaster.
I don't know about this one, dog. This ain't
You gotta keep the House of Wisdom alive.
Now, he has hidden a Mangonel and some Spruce on the backside, but PuppyPaw needs like 2, 3 of these at least to take out the crossbow straight away. Even after that, I'm still worried about the amount of spears and now man-at-arms that are appearing on the front line for the Mongols.
Horseman now hitting the eco of VortiX over here, though. The gold miners could fall victim to those, but if you can't keep the House of Wisdom alive, it doesn't matter. PuppyPaw is playing a risky game over here, but it could pay off. If he keeps the House of Wisdom alive, he could do a tremendous amount of damage with VortiX's eco, and
But he's
also...
done no damage. Look at the count.
Yeah. He could come in from
can't
behind now.
reach. It's the yam. It's the yam, Lidakor. It allows the spearman to gap close too quickly. This is why it's difficult to counter raid Mongols at this stage.
Springolds now trading off over here. Numbers relatively even. You gotta snipe the trebuchets.
I think he needs the mangoes more. Like, the mangoes are stopping him from clumping and going in. Look at the count right now. PuppyPaw with 23 crossbow. If they get too close, they will be insta-wiped.
Every single building getting burned down over here also is rewarding VortiX with food and gold as well, something that PuppyPaw also has to respect.
He's pop cap now. And if
Yeah.
VortiX realizes that he has
VortiX
free
is
houses,
as well.
he can insta-torch.
VortiX is also pop cap, but at
That's
200
true.
and not 160. That's the problem for PuppyPaw. Both are pop cap, but the numbers are much better for VortiX.
PuppyPaw, he rebuilds the housing. But by the time he does it, look at the heavy hit to his count. Shrinking up fast, forced to fight here. Horseman engaging, but up against man-at-arms and spears. This is not going to be a good trade for him. Barely any crossbows remaining. The Mangonels make sure he can't clump them up. And the pursuit continues. VortiX now diving deeper. PuppyPaw still relentless. Refuses to wave that white flag, but with half of his base already gone.
He's going Imperial. PuppyPaw is going Imperial, trying to save the House of Wisdom, but he can't. He is going to tap out. We're going to game number 7.
Well, it was just Abbasid anyway, right? I can't believe he was trying Imperial there. Like, credit to him, I can understand, like, PuppyPaw's logic. He can't quantity, so he has to quality. But even if you get that tech up, that's going to signal a go for VortiX. Credit to him for the way he played this. He just gave enough room that the Abbasid player felt comfortable long enough that he could realize his full economical potential. And once he does that, there's simply no way for PuppyPaw to move out of the base. The outposts, the spam of siege. PuppyPaw is playing a defensive war, but behind those defenses, he has limited resources and room to not only build up the military production, but also the farms that would sustain him long term.
Yeah, the lack of room definitely haunted him in this game, and as you said, VortiX realized that taking down all these houses on the front line will make it difficult for PuppyPaw to replenish them, because PuppyPaw was low on wood and he was low on space. So he started to just completely cripple the ability of PuppyPaw to add any further military by destroying those houses. Also, side note worth taking a note of is that VortiX even got the bounty upgrade on his units. So by the end of this game, he was getting 75 food and 75 gold for every single building set on fire.